Hello, everyone on the awesomeness and
Hello,
awesomeness.
everyone.
What's up? I am Owen C. Cotter, and this is Marlis Garza of scifiction.com. Sci-fiction, Star Wars, and all the other social media apps. We got this thing connected, simulcasted all over the place. We've also got our live beach view here at the Gulf Coast. Awesomeness. Well, there it is, and we got all kind of goodies. On the line, on the other line here, is Mr. Christopher Dahl, amazing space artist. He does all kind of sci-fi stuff. Here is Christopher. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
How's it going there,
Hi.
sir? Hi, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. We're having a good time.
Yes, indeed. We're trying to get all the beach views and aerial views. So I was going to ask you, you do a lot of space art and sci-fi goodness. Can you go over a little bit about, kind of introduce yourself to everybody on the digital awesomeness?
Sure thing. Thank you. I'm Christopher Dahl. I have been a professional space and science fiction artist for really almost the past 10 years now.
Very
It
cool.
overlapped with a couple of other jobs and careers, but pretty much for 10 years I've been doing this. And I've managed to do some really cool book covers. I think my biggest anyone would have seen were the Becky Chambers Wayfarers series, which I'm in
That was a
debt to
great
Becky
cover.
Chambers. You read those, yeah.
So you got,
Uh,
I noticed up here, you got some space art. Looks like a little Ralph McQuarrie goodness there, and got a space station of awesomeness there, and that's your spaceship down the below. I've seen that one. That's all you had. All that goodness.
thank you. Yeah, these were from the live stream.
Yeah.
I've been doing a weekly live stream. It'll be 3 years this week.
Oh, it's been it's been that long, yeah.
Thank you. I sort of do space and science fiction scenes, Bob Ross style.
Right. It's like the sci-fi Bob Ross of sci-fi, basically.
I had to
That's
bring the
all.
gray beard into the mix.
That's why I told everybody we're bringing on the Bob Ross of Sci-Fi Day. That's awesome. So you got a lot of science fiction influence. What were some of your favorite sci-fi shows or movies kind of influence you on the daily take when you do your Twitch streams and all that?
I started with the original Star Trek series. I didn't see it
Nice.
on first run, but we caught reruns.
Okay.
And really, anything science fiction was just magnetic to me. So, the old Lost in Space,
Mhm.
Space 1999. I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey on television, actually, but it was the year Star Wars came out.
Okay.
And I've always been attracted to science fiction things, books, even magazines like Starlog and Cinemagic, where they talked a lot about the production of these shows. So I've always kind of had a fascination with not just the concepts, but also the drawing, painting,
Right.
design of things that we would see in these shows.
So like Starlog magazine, we actually got the opportunity a few years back to talk with Kerry O'Quinn. He was going in depth to how the behind the scenes of the films, bringing it, like now modern day. He was saying like the future is the internet now. The magazine print stuff was kind of like he of course Starlog was now defunct. You got Fangoria still on by somebody else or all that. He was fascinated by the digital aspect of the social media and all that. But the space scene, you've got a lot of stuff going on with space now. We're trying about going to Mars. We're trying about going to the moon. What are your thoughts on that? What would you like to see kind of like from that? You've got the old days like the Chesney Bonesteel before he even went to space.
Hmm. Those all of those paintings I absorbed growing up through these publications, and I always loved the space program. I was born during the Apollo era, so I am very excited to see not only the manned space program, human space program, uh, but the exploration aspect. I miss having Cassini around Saturn, beaming back beautiful images of Saturn and its system. I wish we had more of those. And I think we're on the cusp of a very exciting resurgence in space exploration with a lot of the new rocket delivery vehicles out there. So I'm looking
Sure.
forward to more humans in space, more space probes to the different planets. I'm hoping to see the day that we have the icy moon orbiters around some of the moons on Jupiter and Saturn, where we might actually find
Something.
legitimate life.
They got Europa. They're talking about. There's one of them has an ocean. They want to mine that and drill down and put like a submarine. And you got this helicopter thing on Mars zooming around all over the place, and it's totally awesome. The
And then a
Artemis
helicopter on
program.
Titan. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The Artemis program. What are your thoughts on that? What would you like to see over the next 5 years for that? It's kind of like progressive.
I am really excited that they pulled Artemis together. It's great to see that rocket hardware.
Yeah,
Really, it's a culmination of things that we have previously seen between Apollo and the space shuttle. I would love to see them ramp that up,
yeah.
and it puts such heavy payloads up. There's such a huge opportunity to do some fantastic things. Obviously, humans back on the moon. I
Mhm.
would love to see that just from my own personal edification. But
We're talking about this space station thing too. They want to orbit up there as well.
they could seriously expand the space station with something like Artemis.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got the gateway. They're gonna hop off of that and hop to Mars. The thing is, Mars is far away, so you have to find a way to get there within the radiation stuff too. They've been talking about and all that, the solar
If
radiation.
if they were able to get underground on Mars, or something I think is even more exciting, is building an interstitial base around Phobos,
Oh
just
wow,
orbiting Mars. So do the same thing as Lunar Gateway, but at Mars.
that's genius. I think about that. As I was reading the article, they talk about the gateway. They dissected all up at the lab. They're going to build something on the moon where the people are stationed there, but they can bring them back up, base there, hop, 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 hop. So you talk about your paintings. You do a lot of paintings. You've got some in the background. What's some of the newest stuff you've got that you've done?
So the one right behind me is one I started on a live stream. It's a series I'm beginning called Hidden Worlds. It features kind of classic spaceships, but they're not the main element. It's these planets
Mm,
in some familiar, some unfamiliar nebulas and star clusters. I'm painting it from an emotional standpoint, my love of space exploration and science fiction. And this is I was going to say, this will be the finished version because my live streams are pretty quick. So there's
an
just
hour
it,
long, something. Yeah.
yeah, a couple of hours. They're intentionally meant to be fun
Mm,
and finished from start to finish. So I don't mind taking a few of those and then expanding on them over time. And
for sure.
it's been pretty busy around here, so unfortunately, this one's not done.
It's awesome, man. I love the art, and you got the amazing Twitch stream. You've done a lot of stuff with other stuff besides book covers. I think it's like beer cans and all kind of other stuff. What some of the other products and things you've done for?
The beer cans were fascinating. Became associated with a small brewery in Brooklyn, New York,
Mm.
Folks Beer, and they wanted to do a series that resembled science fiction artist Paul Lair's work. It was just
Okay.
kind of moody and surreal, and I thought, okay, I'm on board with that. So I probably did about a dozen of those beer labels for them, and they went really well.
Mm.
The brewery, I think, is it's gone now, but it's some of my favorite personal pieces.
Yeah, for
And then
sure.
more recently, I actually just did a series of planet models for a museum in Georgia, and I have really announced this out in the public too much yet, but 11 worlds that are going to be in an outdoor kiosk. So it's
Nice.
painting, but model building as well. And I'm very
Cool.
excited to release those. It was the first time I've really done a combination multimedia piece for a rather large organization.
That's super cool. Mara's here. She say hi. She's our co-host. Do
Hi.
you have
Hello.
any questions about space art and all kind of goodies like
Well,
sci-fi?
I see that you do sell your art, but my question is, is it just one or do you make several of them?
Ask a question.
Oh, good
Our
question.
friends.
Some of the paintings that were really popular, I've revisited several times. I don't really do them in a production run. Like I will come back to a couple of my favorite pieces a year or so, and I have offered prints. I do actually have the ability in house to do prints, although it's currently under maintenance right now.
It's all
It's
good.
But
all good.
as typical, so I'm gearing up to do a few more of those, and I'm always available for commissions. So if someone has a favorite thing they really want to see, I will gladly revisit any of the
Nice.
subjects.
So I got to ask you, Chris. You keep up to date on the Star Trek. Have you seen some of the new Star Trek shows? And if so, what do you think about them? Like you got Strange
I
New
am
Worlds.
I yes, I Star Trek's part of my DNA, so I am up to date on all of them. I My favorite so far is Strange New Worlds,
Yeah, it's an
and
amazing series.
that's because Captain Pike and his crew was one of my favorite parts of the old Star Trek that you never saw much of.
Right.
And I think they're doing a fantastic idea, fantastic with that. The newest season of Picard has some amazing design work in it. I am completely thrilled, and it's such fun seeing these characters kind of back in action. I think they're
Yeah.
doing a fantastic job.
The
And
set design on that show is amazing.
oh, they're gorgeous. The live control panels. I
Mhm.
can only imagine how excited Michael and Denise Okuda must
Oh
be to see
yeah.
those animations.
Right.
Um, and back then, of course, it was just the two of them cutting
Little
lithographs and putting them
plexiglass.
on, and
Right.
now they're these full-on animated pieces. I That's got to be exciting for them.
Yeah, we went down the Star Trek stuff. It's all like OLED screens with animated, LCAR systems and all that. We went down to the 2019 San Diego Comic Con. They had the Orville series has some amazing ones as well. They
Oh,
had
the
a little,
Orbisons are great. Yeah.
yeah, so they had a little amazing little kind of like section of the bridge with the computer with all the little engine sections of the Orville and all the whatever they're like the quantum drive I think is what they call it on that show. So that's super cool. Do you go to any events or do any Comic Cons or any lectures or any like events around the country like that? Or if not, would you like to do some? What would you want to do? Which ones?
It's been a while since I've been to a convention, primarily because of the pandemic. The big convention I used to do was one called Wonderfest in Louisville, Kentucky, which is
Okay,
geared more towards model builders, people that
very cool.
build spaceships and figures. But it's also a small enough convention where when you go, you can meet folks that have worked in these like shows like Star Trek and Lost
Oh,
in Space. I've been able to meet Rick Sternbach, who's awesome, and Andrew Probert, John Eves.
yeah, Starship
He
Design. Yeah.
yeah, so it's really cool chatting with these people, and they kind of would know me by face if they saw me at this point, which is to me really exciting. And it's smaller than like say a Comic Con,
Right.
where if you go to the hotel for the breakfast, you're going to be running
Mhm.
into everybody. So it's pretty cool.
We
Yeah.
should get some of these guys and have a round table sometime on this thing, man. That'd be totally awesome. I got to make a few calls on that. Probably could bring a few of them in on here. That'd be totally cool. So you got Star Trek. You got to ask. You watch any Star Wars? What are you thinking of these new series? Some really good ones. Andor was awesome.
Andor was fantastic. The Mandalorian, of course, was
Mhm.
really cool, and there's a lot about Obi-Wan I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I haven't seen too many of the animated series because
there's a lot
it
of them too.
yeah, there's a lot of them for one, and I kind of feel bad because I think I was a little prejudiced myself against them, being that oh, it's animated, it's for kids, which is silly.
Right. There's
Uh,
some pretty serious, dramatic moments, like stuff like Rebels and
oh
Clone Wars.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I feel like I missed that, but it's been an exciting time for Star Wars in the television medium, which I think it to me is the sort of thing I look forward to.
You've got some new. What's next month is Star Wars Celebration. And there's probably gonna be dropping a
Yep.
whole bunch of goodies from that.
I hope so. And I've been following. There's a Chinese production of Three Body Problem
Yeah.
that has just hit YouTube, and now there's going to be a Netflix version here
Mhm.
in the U.S. and Europe. That actually, to me, is something I got really excited about because it kind of takes science fiction. It feels like
Right.
classic science fiction. It really does.
Classics. OG
Uh,
Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke type stuff.
Very much so. So I'm kind of, as much as I love the Star Trek, Star Wars, and some of the action things stuff, I'm really looking forward to a resurgence in the cerebral side. We saw a little bit of it with Severance,
Hmm.
which was just really a thrill. And a while back there was the show Devs.
Did you get
So
to
yeah,
see any of the arc on sci-fi? That thing's amazing.
I have not seen this yet, and I really would like to. It's
It
a
just
concept I
started.
really enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, it just started. We actually got the opportunity to sit down with Dean Devlin and Glassner a few months back. And then those guys, man, they get sci-fi. I mean, they really get it. And the main thing he told us was Devlin and Jonathan was they wanted to get back to the roots of OG sci-fi. and kind of get it back to like like the storytelling serialized, but still like the golden age of like the stuff like Star Trek, and they're big Trekkies and all that as well. So they like Star Trek and the progressive of that kind of storytelling. I mean, Dean Devlin's mom, I think, was even on Star Trek or something like that. It's a great show. You should check it out. I mean, it's done by the guys at Stargate and Independence Day.
I would very much like to see that show.
Super cool.
Yes.
So for artwork, you've got a lot of yeah. Oh, it's on sci. I think it's like the episode, was it 4 now or 5 now? Just
Which one?
like the arc on sci-fi.
I think it's on.
Just started, just a
Yeah.
few episodes in. Yeah, the
Yeah.
paintings you do a lot of spaceships, but you do some that are more original spaceships. How do you go about like getting those designs and like kind of just you go with the flow, and it's just after an hour or two, you've got this masterpiece you can frame. And how do you go about that?
Thank you. When I was not drawing Star Trek and Star Wars ships, I always kind of wanted to design my own that maybe would have fit in those universes. And later on, I studied industrial design in college, where they really teach you
Mhm.
a lot about fast sketching, hardware design, of course, because you're designing things like cars and computers, phones. Um,
Right.
so I have that instinct, if you will, to craft shapes
Mm.
and a desire for it. So I it may look easy, but it does actually come from a place of just I've practiced doing it a lot. And if
Right.
you look at my ships, sometimes you'll see repeated themes and repeated shapes. I call them my sort of shape cliches. If I were on a film production, they would probably be yelling at me saying, "Stop drawing the same ship. Give me 5 more that look different."
Right.
Um, so I try to avoid that, but there are sort of my favorite elements that keep returning to them. And when you do a short start to finish painting, it's nice to be able to just kind of throw something out that's going to look fairly good.
Mm.
And really, the live streams are kind of practice for me
Mm.
to sort of learn new techniques. Even if I botch it in front of a live audience, it's okay. It's going to be
All
fun
good.
and
It's
try to make it look
practice.
good. So
Mm.
a lot of times I am just winging it.
Do a good job winging it on that. I was going to ask you, like, is there any new spaceships in sci-fi series or book or say TV and shows that have kind of like you've taken and kind of inspired you recently? Some of the new
Oh
ships.
gosh. Um, so most recently, and I know this is a few years back now. I'm saying recently, and I'm going to reference a 10-year-old film. I love the hardware in Interstellar.
Oh yeah,
The Rangers were really cool.
pretty cool ships.
Uh, the landing shuttles in the Avatar movies. I
Mhm.
really like this idea of a really beefy space shuttle that can survive multiple reentry attempts into an atmosphere, do their business, and get out. So those were really, to me, pretty exciting. The Netflix Lost in Space show,
Oh yeah,
their little Jupiter 2 ships, their interpretation of it was really cool.
they're like a
So
whole fleet of them, I believe, in there. They kind of some of them crashed, some of them landed, some of them.
some crashed, some landed. They each have their own little vehicles, and so that was a fascinating take on this concept. So those are the really big ones that kind of get me going. In video games,
Oh yeah, I meant to ask you that. Yeah.
Star Citizen has some really cool looking ships, um, but they all kind of the video game side of things has some really exciting stuff that I think offers some really cool possibilities. But I always come back to my Star Trek stuff. The Strange New Worlds has some fun ships, and Picard has some amazing
Oh yeah, for sure.
ships.
Well, I gotta ask you, what do you think of that Titan A Neo Constitution class new thing they got on that ship?
I think that's fantastic. I think the design is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah,
I my I feel like that was something that would have fit very, very well in the movie eras.
true. Yeah.
And that gets me to a point where if they're revisiting older eras on Star Trek as a series,
Mm,
why not step into that realm with the maroon uniforms and all of that?
right.
But I think it's really fantastic.
Very cool. I was gonna ask you another question. Speaking of Star Trek, what is your favorite alien ship?
Oh, the original Klingon battle cruiser,
D7
Uh,
classic. Nice.
the D7, and the revision they did in the motion picture where they turned it into the Continga with all of
Mm.
the details. I when Polar Lights put out a model of that, I absolutely had to get it.
That's a gorgeous ship. I like the. It was the one they did in Next Gen. It was like the one that had like the kind of bridge, kind of looked like guns on the top. Was the bigger one than the modern one?
The Vorcha, right?
Orchai, yeah.
Yes, that was very, very cool. And of course, the Bird of Prey was fantastic. But
I
I
like
have
the
a
bird of prey from
weirdest.
Nemesis. Those are cool too.
Oh, those Nemesis had some very aggressive ships. Yeah. I have a weird aesthetic though, because sometimes I love the simpler ones, like the Tholian ships
Oh
from
yeah,
the original series where they had
pyramid.
no detail whatsoever. It was just a cool shape.
I like the. I thought that when they did the show Enterprise with Scott Bakula, that ship was simple and kind of homaged the original series ship, but it was small, more like I guess you call it like a submarine or something like that. But you don't see
Yeah,
many ships that small, I guess, unless you count maybe like the Defiant,
the Defiant, yes.
Defiant, yeah, NX, whatever it is.
And that
So,
gets there are movies that I like to
mm,
say are my favorite science fiction Star Trek movies that aren't Star Trek, and you get into things like Hunt for Red October. Uh,
futuristic submarine a little bit.
it, there's an opportunity, I think, for a completely different genre of
Mm,
science fiction that hasn't really been addressed. Well, The Expanse got into that,
mm.
and I completely forgot about The Expanse. I can't believe I forgot about The Expanse.
It's an
But
amazing show. Those ships in there was that little boat the guy had that it was like the real small like super fast one he had.
oh
Was it,
yes, I'm going
what's
to
that?
forget
I forget the
the
name
name
of
of
it.
it. Are you referring to
The
Julie
guy
Mao's?
the guy that
Not
died on it. You know, he had
oh, the
at the end.
Epstein
Yeah,
drive ship.
Epstein
Yes,
Drive. Yeah, he did too much flying around in that thing. He had like an embolism or something. Like that. It's a
I
great
feel
show. Have
like
you
that
seen the
show
series?
treated.
Of which
Yeah,
one?
You know, with the Expanse. Yeah, that last season, man, I binged all the seasons, like last two seasons at once, and I was like, man, that's it. There's no more. I need some more now.
need more. Yes,
You got these
fortunately, there's
shows.
more books.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. They're gonna be Corey and them will be doing some good stuff. I was gonna ask, do you have any questions too about the sci-fi? What are some of your favorite sci-fi shows you've been watching recently?
Well, so far I'm just in. I've seen the original from
Those,
Star Trek, and then I'm right now in the next gen.
catching her up.
Yeah, I'm barely there. I still need to see what is it, Voyagers,
Voyager, Deep Space Nine,
Deep Space Nine,
Enterprise.
Enterprise, and then I've seen maybe just the original of Star Wars, not all of them,
Mhm.
but then I have been seeing the Mandalorian, the
You watched all
Andor,
those.
Obi Wan, yeah. So those have been pretty good so far because I'm more of a Marvel and
She loves
DC
Marvel and DC. They got
person.
spaceships in there too. There's some drones. The Guardians of the Galaxy, and they have some
Hmm.
spaceships and all that. Speaking of that, Marvel comics and just DC and all that. What are some of your favorite design work in those aspects? So you've got stuff like the OG stuff. You got the new stuff. You know, and all that.
You mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, and I
Mhm.
really enjoyed the. I'm blanking on the name of the ship right now. His hero ship, if you will.
The
Uh,
Milano.
Thank you. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that was fantastic. I am not. I wasn't as affiliated with the comic world as some other people are. So I've enjoyed the movies most recently, and a lot of it is still kind of new to me, which is really odd given I grew up around people that had comics all the time, and I was
Tons of
kind of
comics.
veered towards the movie side of things. So I feel like I'm sometimes a little less fluent
Mhm.
with the comic
You
world.
mentioned submarines. I just thought of a series, Sequest from the '90s,
Oh,
Sequest DSV.
Sequest DSB, yes,
And
indeed.
that
That
show, did you watch that? What was your thoughts on the design? Because there's some really cool little mini subs and all kind of jazz in that too.
I kind of had a mini obsession with the Sequest sub itself. It was right when CG
Right.
was getting big in
Yeah.
television. Babylon 5 and Sequest came out
Go
around the same
Babylon.
time.
Yeah.
And somewhere around here, I've got a model of Sequest DSB. They put out a
Really?
model of it
Oh
briefly.
man,
It did, yeah, it was really cool.
that's awesome.
Uh, and I was just learning 3D myself. So
Mhm.
someplace I have a 3D Studio Max file of my own version of Sequest.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
but it was a very complicated show. They used to only render the parts of the ship you could see.
The need to like for docking the subs and all that stuff, and the interior design of that show was amazing as well. Was the
It
guy
was
that was
definitely very spoopy. Yes.
what was that guy? Raimi, not Sam Raimi is the his brother Ted Raimi, or one of
Ted
them
Raimi.
was the pilot of the ship that he piloted the Sequest on.
Oh, and Roy Scheider is the
Oh
captain.
god, yeah, solid gold.
Instant amazement.
Well, they like bring in like Michael Ironside there in like season 3 or something like that.
I believe they did. Yes.
He always plays this. He's great, dude, but he always plays the same character, like some military badass. Like he was like he's in V as like the guy that brings in their tech, or he's in this, is that. He was even in was X-Men First Class as the commander of the battleship or whatever it was.
Yep. And Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Rico, you know what to do. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
awesome, man. I forgot about that one. That was classic solid 80s, 90s gold, rather. The books covers. Are you going to be doing any new book covers beyond that, the one you've done, or anybody looking at doing
Oh,
some more book work?
I've I'm actually currently in progress on several book covers with
Cool.
directly with authors who are
Very
doing
cool.
self-publishing. So I've probably done about a dozen book covers since the Becky Chambers books,
Very
maybe
cool.
even a few more than that, actually.
You did a
um,
calendar too, didn't you?
I've got, yep, this is my
Yeah.
second calendar this year. I've gotten two calendars put out,
Nice.
which
Very cool.
it was very strange the moment I looked at and went, "Holy crap! I've got two calendars with my name on it."
That's
So that was
awesome.
pretty neat.
You mentioned Sequest. You did some old CGI or digital stuff. Do you use any digital work when doing the calendars or anything in a digital or hybrid of both, or just pure painting, or how does that go about?
I'm going to admit that I've been a Photoshop Adobe user since about 1994.
Oh yeah,
So I'm actually use a lot of digital work.
very cool.
I don't show it a lot because I there's a lot of people that do digital design and
Mhm.
digital art live, which is fine. My computer will only either do one of two things. It'll either stream or do digital art. It doesn't want to do them both. So until things expand a little bit here, I probably won't be. But I've actually been using a lot of Blender 3D lately, and a lot of that has turned up in the artwork.
It's a great program.
Even
I haven't used it
yeah,
much. Other people have. It's supposed to be a really good program. So you
I try to
got
use it as a supplement of my main
right.
artwork. So it's if I'm generating shapes, I'll
Mhm.
do a design, and that becomes an underlay that I can then use to actually do the painting. I really like bringing the traditional media into it in some fashion, as opposed to going straight digital.
That's super cool. Have you done any animation with any of these ships or anything? Ever dabbled in that or?
I have a lot of little shorts, but it was years ago. If I showed them now, it would just be it,
So
it would be
it's a
pretty
little dated
pretty
to technology.
yeah. uh,
Very cool.
640 by 480. So and actually a lot of those got lost in a very tragic archive accident.
Oh man.
I am planning a few more, something
Mhm.
that's a little more extensive to supplement my live stream channel, the YouTube
Cool.
channel I have as well. Plus, there's a couple of side projects I'm doing now that will benefit from having some contemporary, up to date, and hopefully very cool 3D work.
Nice, nice. Well, you have the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel. You do a lot on, well, especially on the Twitch. What is the Twitch channel for people that want to find out?
Oh, great. Thank you very much. It's twitch.tv or twitch.com.
Okay.
And my name on there is Blackbird CD. So all one word with my initials.
Very cool.
You can find me there every Wednesday night. In fact, this Wednesday is my 3-year anniversary show. So I usually do a
Nice.
bigger painting,
Right.
takes a little longer. And at the end of the night, I do a giveaway and somebody wins the painting.
Oh
Awesome.
wow.
That's really cool. I was going to say your website, of course, is down here on the bottom of the screen somewhere,
Oh,
christopher-dahl.com. And you've got what is your YouTube channel?
my YouTube channel is Space Art by Christopher Dahl.
Very cool. Very cool.
So you can
Well,
find it if you hit Christopher Dahl or Space Art by Christopher Dahl in the
oh,
search, you'll find it there. And I've just started leaning pretty hard on YouTube this last year. That's part of my 2023 plan. So we have some ideas of some fun things coming up this year.
yeah, we're simulcasting this to YouTube, to Facebook's, Twitch, and Twitter right
Hey,
now. So,
awesome.
so Mars, you got any closing thoughts?
Well, really quick. I heard you say you did two calendars. Can you purchase those
Oh,
on
good
your
question.
website? for the ones
Absolutely. And I have them discounted nicely.
Very
Oh,
cool. Very
nice.
cool. I'll have to get one of those.
Yes,
huh?
I want to get one. That's why.
Well,
Thank you
Chris,
so much.
yes, sir. Oh, Chris, I want to thank you for joining us on the show. We'd like to have you back in the future as well.
Anytime. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you, and I've watched the show for a while, so thank you so
Oh,
much. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
thank you, sir. You have a beautiful day, and may the force be with you and live long and very much prosper,
Live long
sir.
and prosper.
Live long and
Awesome.
prosper.
Have a good day, Chris.
Take care, everyone.
You too.
Bye.